Elena Whitmore had grown up hearing stories about the moon goddess and the sacred bonds she created between mates. She never believed those stories would touch her own life. She was only the daughter of a disgraced pack healer, a girl who lived on the quiet edges of the Crimson Moon territory, far from the grand halls where the Alpha King ruled. Her mother had died when she was young, and her father spent his days trying to rebuild the family's broken reputation. Elena did not dream of thrones or crowns. She only wanted a peaceful life, away from the whispers that followed her family wherever they went. On the night of her 18th birthday, everything changed. The Crimson Moon Gathering was the most important night of the year, when every wolf in the territory came together under the full moon to celebrate unity and strength. Elena stood at the back of the crowd, trying to remain unnoticed, when a sudden warmth spread through her chest. She looked up, and her eyes met the eyes of Draven Ashford, the Alpha King himself. The moment their gazes locked, a powerful current passed between them, like invisible threads pulling them together. Elena's wolf stirred inside her, whispering one word over and over: mate. She saw the same shock flash across Draven's face, but it was quickly replaced by something colder, something guarded. Draven was not just any alpha. He was the strongest leader in the Northern Territories, a king who had built his power through discipline and strategy. He had spent years forming an alliance with the Blackwood Pack, and that alliance depended on his marriage to Seraphina Blackwood, the daughter of a powerful Alpha King. Everyone expected him to announce Seraphina as his Luna that very night. He looked away from Elena and did not approach her. Elena told herself it did not matter. Perhaps she was wrong about the bond. Perhaps the goddess had made a mistake. But deep inside, she knew what she felt was real, and she could see in his eyes that he felt it too. He simply chose to ignore it. Days passed, and Elena tried to continue her life as if nothing had happened. She helped her father with his healing work, tended to the pack's sick and injured, and avoided the palace as much as possible. But fate was not finished with her. One evening, while she was gathering herbs near the training grounds, Draven found her alone. He walked toward her slowly, his expression unreadable. "You felt it too," he said. It was not a question. Elena straightened her back, refusing to let him see how much his presence affected her. "Felt what, Alpha?" "Don't do that," he said quietly. "Don't pretend you don't know." For a moment, silence stretched between them, filled with everything neither of them dared to say. Then Draven's expression hardened again, as if he were forcing himself to remember his duty. "It changes nothing," he said. "I am marrying Seraphina. The alliance with the Blackwood Pack is more important than a bond neither of us asked for." Elena felt her heart break quietly, but she refused to show her pain. "Then I wish you happiness, Alpha," she said, and walked away before he could see the tears gathering in her eyes. 2 weeks later, the Alpha King made his announcement in front of the entire pack. Elena stood among the crowd, forcing herself to remain calm, as Draven declared Seraphina Blackwood as his chosen Luna. The pack cheered, unaware of the invisible bond he was breaking with his decision. But then something unexpected happened. As Draven spoke the final words of his announcement, a strange energy rippled through the gathering. Wolves nearby began to whimper, sensing a disturbance in the air. Draven staggered slightly, gripping the edge of the stone platform as pain shot through his chest. He caught Elena's eyes across the crowd, and in that instant, the entire pack turned to look at her too. Someone in the crowd whispered the truth aloud. "She is his mate." Draven's face turned pale. He had hoped to keep the secret hidden, but rejecting a true mate in front of witnesses could not be undone quietly. Humiliation burned through him, not because of what he felt, but because he could not control the goddess's judgment. He turned to Elena, and in front of everyone, he spoke the words that would haunt him for a long time. "I reject you as my mate. You are not fit to stand beside a king." The crowd fell silent. Elena felt as though the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. She had expected him to choose duty over fate, but she had never expected such cruelty. Tears burned in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall in front of the pack that had always looked down on her family. Without another word, she turned and ran into the forest, her wolf howling with heartbreak as she disappeared into the darkness. Draven watched her go, feeling a strange tightness in his chest that had nothing to do with pride. He told himself it was necessary. He told himself the kingdom mattered more than his own feelings. But as the days passed, something inside him began to change. His strength, once unshakable, started to weaken. His shifts became painful, as though his own body was rebelling against him. His control over his wolf grew unstable, and during pack meetings, he found himself losing focus, distracted by a hollow ache he could not explain. The elders of the pack began to whisper among themselves. They knew the old stories. Rejecting a true mate came with consequences far greater than heartbreak. It weakened the very foundation of an alpha's power. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Elena wandered without direction, lost in her grief. She had nowhere to go, and no one to turn to. As night fell, she stumbled upon a hidden grove she had never seen before, filled with silver flowers that glowed softly under the moonlight. An old woman stood in the center of the grove, watching her with calm, knowing eyes. "You have been searching for a place to belong your whole life," the woman said. "Tonight, you have finally found it." Elena wiped her tears and studied the stranger cautiously. "Who are you?" "My name is Maribel. I am one of the last descendants of the first Luna, chosen long ago by the moon goddess herself." Maribel stepped closer, studying Elena's face. "And so are you." Elena shook her head, confused.
"That's impossible. I'm nobody. My family has no standing in the pack."
"Standing given by wolves means nothing to the goddess," Maribel said gently. "Blood remembers what politics forgets. You carry the same lineage as the first Luna, the one who was chosen to heal broken bonds and restore balance when alphas let pride blind them. That is why the mate bond chose you for Draven. Not because of politics, because you are meant to correct what has gone wrong." Elena listened, her heart pounding as pieces of her life began to make sense. Her mother's stories, the strange dreams she'd had since childhood, the way she always felt a pull toward the wild parts of the forest. It all connected to something far greater than she had ever imagined. Maribel led her deeper into the hidden grove, where other moon-blessed wolves lived quietly, hidden from the politics of the ruling packs. They welcomed Elena and began teaching her about her heritage. Over the following weeks, Elena discovered a strength within herself she never knew existed. Her connection to the moon goddess grew stronger, and her wolf became more powerful, more certain of who she was. Back at the Crimson Moon Palace, Draven's condition continued to worsen. His engagement to Serafina moved forward, but something about her began to feel wrong. She seemed overly interested in the pack's defenses, asking questions about weaknesses in their borders and the location of their warriors. Draven, distracted by his own struggles, did not notice the danger at first. One night, one of his most trusted warriors came to him with troubling news. Serafina had been secretly meeting with a rival alpha, a longtime enemy of the Crimson Moon Pack. She had been sharing information about their defenses in exchange for a future position of power once the rival pack conquered Crimson Moon territory. Draven felt fury and betrayal crash through him, but beneath the anger, understanding began to dawn. His decision to reject his true mate for the sake of an alliance had blinded him to the truth. He had chosen politics over fate, and fate had shown him just how wrong that choice truly was. He confronted Serafina immediately, and though she tried to deny her betrayal, the evidence was undeniable. Draven ended the engagement and stripped her family's alliance from the pack's protection. The Blackwood pack, embarrassed by their daughter's treachery, quickly distanced themselves from the scandal. With the false alliance shattered, Draven finally allowed himself to face the truth he had been avoiding. He had rejected the one person the goddess had chosen for him, and in doing so, he had weakened not only his own strength, but the safety of his entire pack. He needed to find Elena, not as a king seeking to reclaim what he'd lost, but as a man ready to admit his mistakes. He searched for weeks, following faint traces of her scent through the forest, until he finally found the hidden grove where Elena now lived. When he stepped into the clearing, the moon-blessed wolves stood ready to defend their new sister, but Elena raised a hand, silencing them. She walked toward Draven, no longer the frightened girl who had run from the gathering. She stood tall, her presence radiating quiet strength. "Why are you here?" she asked. Draven knelt before her, an act no Alpha King had ever performed for another wolf. "I came to ask for your forgiveness," he said. "I let pride and fear control my choices. I hurt you in front of everyone who was supposed to respect you. and I broke a bond that should have been sacred. I cannot undo what I said that night, but I am asking for the chance to prove I am no longer that man." Elena studied him carefully, feeling the weight of everything that had happened between them. Part of her wanted to walk away and never look back. But another part of her, the part connected to the ancient lineage running through her blood, understood that destiny rarely offered second chances without purpose. "You rejected me because you believed I was not worthy to stand beside you," she said. "If I accept you now, it will not be because you are a king asking for forgiveness. It will be because I choose to stand beside you as an equal, not beneath you." Draven looked up at her, his eyes filled with sincerity. "I would never ask for anything less. You are not beneath me, Elena. You never were. I was too blind to see it." The following days brought quiet conversations between them, as Elena slowly allowed herself to trust him again. She saw the changes in him, the humility that had replaced his pride, and the genuine respect he now showed her. Draven learned about her heritage and the responsibility she carried as a descendant of the first Luna, and instead of feeling threatened by her strength, he admired it. When Elena finally agreed to return to the Crimson Moon Pack, she did not return as a forgotten healer's daughter. She returned as a woman who had discovered her true power, ready to claim the place she was always meant to hold. The pack gathered once again beneath the full moon, this time to witness a different kind of announcement. Draven stood before his people and spoke without hesitation. "I once rejected the mate chosen for me by the moon goddess, believing politics mattered more than fate. That decision nearly cost me everything, including the strength and unity of this pack. Tonight, I stand before you, not as a king demanding obedience, but as a man who has learned humility. I ask Elena Whitmore to stand beside me, not as someone I have chosen, but as someone the goddess chose long before I was wise enough to understand." Elena stepped forward, and this time, the pack did not whisper in doubt. They watched in awe as the moonlight seemed to grow brighter around her, confirming what the ancient bloodline within her already knew. She was exactly where she was meant to be. The ceremony that followed was unlike anything the Crimson Moon Pack had witnessed before. As Elena accepted her place as Luna, a wave of warmth spread through the pack, healing the lingering effects of the broken bond. Draven's strength returned fully, stronger than before, now balanced by the presence of the mate he had once refused. In the months that followed, Elena worked to bring her knowledge of the ancient lineage to the pack, teaching them lessons about respect, humility, and the deep responsibility that came with power. Draven ruled beside her, no longer as a king above his people, but as a partner who understood that true strength came from unity, not domination. The story of the Alpha King who once rejected his mate became a lesson passed down through generations, a reminder that destiny, though patient, does not offer forgiveness without growth. And in the heart of the Crimson Moon Pack, Elena and Draven stood together under the full moon, proof that even the deepest wounds could heal when pride gave way to truth.